Today we will see and analyze an exciting fight between a Krav Maga fighter from Germany named Molt and an MMA fighter named Firat. Why did I choose to show you this fight? These are two amateur fighters and each of them is considered one of the best among the amateurs. Admittedly, Firat is older than Molt and perhaps has a bit more battle experience. This is the second fight in this style, when he won the first fight. Regarding fighting style, same as MMA, protective equipment allowed, it's MMA gloves. It can be noted that Firat also trains in Thai boxing and BJJ. That is, he may have a relative advantage over Molt. It can be added that Molt is 4 centimeters taller and also 3 kilograms heavier. Before we start watching the fight, I would point out that the Krav Maga fighter in this fight does not have an advantage relative to a more versatile fighter. In other words, Firat knows how to hit like a boxer, how to kick like karate, and fighting skills in farter like in wrestling. Because of this, it is very difficult to say what the strategy of a battle at Molt is, if it even exists. Hi dear friends, Gil Peleg from the Fitness Warriors Club is with you, and today we will see an amazing fight between a Krav Maga warrior and an MMA fighter. I won't bore you with the talk and let's see the fight. Starting in the first round, the Krav Maga fighter tries to perform a low kick, and at the same time, the MMA fighter launches the same kick. Immediately the MMA fighter takes the initiative and enters the parter. Here the fight moves to the plane of the ground when Firat knows that on the ground he has a huge advantage. He locks behind Molt and tries to knock him down. Here comes the ground and pound technique. To remind you, using the technique, you lock the opponent's motor skills on the floor and start hitting him when you are on top of him. In the second stage, Firat immediately goes to choke. We understand that a Krav Maga fighter is in a big problem against an MMA fighter. He's just using him as a training dummy. I'm sure Krav Maga people weren't excited to see the fight because they're sure they'll never get off the ground. But think for a moment, is this fight so different from a street fight? If it was a street fight, an MMA fighter would also put fingers in the eyes of a Krav Maga fighter. Does it need special preparation? In my opinion, in these moments a real fight would have ended in a total victory for the MMA fighter. An MMA fighter works like a well-oiled machine. From the ground and pound technique he immediately switches to the lay and pray technique, reminding you that the opponent is on top, and with his weight knocks down the Krav Maga fighter when the Krav Maga fighter is locked and cannot move. Amazing work by an MMA fighter when he doesn't give a small chance to a Krav Maga fighter. Miraculously, the Krav Maga fighter breaks free and tries to take the initiative on the ground, starting hitting the MMA fighter. But an MMA fighter uses a well-known technique of wrestling that allows a quick exit from a dangerous situation and immediately switches to an attack on the ground. Repeats the ground and pound technique, continuing to hit the Krav Maga fighter with elbows. The first round ends with a total victory of the MMA fighter. Round 2 begins, and an immediate question I ask you, dear friends, what strategy would you recommend a Krav Maga fighter use? One thing I understand clearly, it is not recommended to fight against an MMA fighter on the ground. But does a Krav Maga fighter have an advantage in standing combat? We saw that an MMA fighter also trained in Thai boxing. You see that an MMA fighter is careful, keeps his distance, and tests the skills of an MMA fighter in a standing fight. Pay attention to the stance of an MMA fighter and the stance of a Krav Maga fighter. An MMA fighter keeps his face and his stand-up style seen straight. That is, of a Thai boxer. To verify this, a Krav Maga fighter is completely open. A Krav Maga fighter misses one punch after another. Receives strong kicks to the leg, low kicks. MMA fighter feels the range very well and goes back after every low kicks of a Krav Maga fighter. When a Krav Maga fighter performs unnecessary kicks and wastes his energy just to not allow an MMA fighter to get close and take him to the ground. Towards the end of round 2. An MMA fighter decides to make a crushing attack. When his low kick goes in hard and the Krav Maga fighter is in big trouble. He understands that he has no advantage over an MMA fighter. Due to his incorrect stance, he receives punches and kicks one after the other. The second round ends with a complete victory of the MMA fighter. The third round begins, and the MMA fighter already studied the Krav Maga fighter. He understands that if he doesn't make a big mistake, he will win the fight. A Krav Maga fighter makes unnecessary movements and continues to waste energy. He doesn't feel the range at all, and you also see that he lacks the experience of fighting with versatile mixed martial arts fighters. To verify this, an MMA fighter is calm, doing technical attacks. In my opinion, he is looking to get close to a Krav Maga fighter with several punches and take him to the ground. You see, this is exactly what Firat does. A quick attack and an attempt to take him to the ground. You see that a Krav Maga fighter is very tired. His hands down, he is exhausted from the low kicks of an MMA fighter. Here it comes, a quick attack from Firat. He grabs it from the top and locks it with his hands. Lowers it to the floor and performs an amazing back roll. Here is an MMA fighter in the most comfortable position for him to end the fight with a crushing victory. Moves to the ground and pound technique. Starts punching. Trying to do an armbar, again returning to the lay and pray technique. Continues to hit the Krav Maga fighter on the ground with punches and elbows. And the referee stops the fight. A landslide victory for an MMA fighter.
Dear friends, hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to our channel, hit the bell below for more updates, and share this video on social networks. And don't forget to write in your comments what you think about this. With you is Gil Peleg from the Fitness Warriors Club. Thanks for watching.
Dear friends, thank you for listening. If you liked our video, please subscribe to our channel and ring the bell below to get an update on our new posts.